the characters being who they are, it's only a matter of time before Bella bleeds near Jasper, and then the outcome is inevitable. She's talking about the paper cut. Did you forget about the ballet studio? She was bleeding like a stuck pig in the ballet studio, and Jasper was there taking care of James. Do you pay any attention at all to your own canon? Do you? 'Cause I hate to think that I, as one of the most rabid and wordy anti-fans out there, know your canon better than you do. I would really hate to think that. I recently made a confession. I'm starting to wonder now. I recently made a confession saying that as much as I don't want to troll on my live journal, as much as I don't want that, as much as I'm dreading the day it comes, so I know a troll's coming. It's going to happen, considering how much I have lacerated these things. Am I getting my secret wish that I actually get to go up against a Twihard right now? Because that is my secret wish, to go up against one and show them that I know their canon better than they do. Because I have a feeling that I do. And like I said, I'm still not sure if I should be proud or ashamed of that. Am I doing that with this? The ultimate battle with a Twihard? Showing that I know Stephenie Meyer's canon better than Stephenie Meyer? Because that's a huge plot hole, and I just pointed it out, and she doesn't seem to be aware that she was bleeding out around Jasper in the first book. A lot more than just a little tiny paper cut. And he was fine. He just ran off. Why couldn't he do that in New Moon? Had he not eaten? What's the deal? Don't talk about how you write first-person perspective and how you see it better than any other. No. 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 Don't go there with me. You do not write in first-person perspective. That Hell on Earth story you wrote for the Prom Night from Hell anthology, it's written in third. I read that story, and then just on a whim, and then I went back to recapping. I think I was doing New Moon at the time. Maybe it was Twilight. It was one of the two. They sounded exactly alike. You don't write in first person. You can tell yourself you write in first person all you want, but you don't, okay? You write in third. And that's one of the things that grates my cheese the most. You talk about how you write in first person, but you don't. You are the worst first-person writer I've ever seen in my life. To quote Reasoning with Vampires, you constantly dip into omniscience. You say how other characters are feeling when you're not supposed to be able to know that. I'm sorry, that's a pet peeve of mine. That's like the preface versus prologue thing. It's just little tiny things just get my goat. Moving on. Even though Twilight had not come out yet, I was aware enough at this point that this is not the way you write romance. You don't take the main character away. You don't take the guy away. Sometimes you can. Yeah, you can do that. That's some of the best romance out there, is to take one of the partners away. To show how that character lives and moves on without them, and lives with their memory, and keeps them alive in their heart. And that's also what you do with the significant other leaves and then comes back. I mean, wasn't that a huge part of the movie and the book Atonement? The romantic couple got split up. Loving from afar. That's a huge romance plot. Now you just you're being like Bella again. You're being a typical Soother, only doing it with your own life. Emphasizing something that's actually quite normal as, oh, it's so weird, I'm so unique and special. No, you're not. That's really common, and it's been done by better authors than you. And she says it again, but because of who he is, he had to leave, and because of his weakness that he has, he was going to come back. Yeah, his weakness of being a selfish jerk who doesn't think of anything but himself. Yeah, that's a real weakness. Edward's a pessimist. No, he's not. He's a psychopath. There's a difference. Edward becomes an optimist in Breaking Dawn? When? When did he become an optimist? All up to, the last 2 chapters. He was sitting around, oh, the Volturi are gonna kill us, we're all gonna die, blah, 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 blah. And that was just mostly a dead herring. But he's never become oh, this is hopeful for the future. No, all he does is think about how many ways can I tear this person apart. If you want to call that pessimism, you can. But he never is an optimist. Ever. He's never a pessimist either. I don't know what he is. A pessimist and an optimist tend to have, emotions, and he's not. He's a cold-blooded killer. New Moon was all about what Edward had to do to be able to call himself a man. sorry, you're being serious. He can't. Mostly because he's not a man, in any sense of the word, because you wrote him like that. Physically, he's not a man. He's a 17-year-old boy that you want to bone, which is disturbing. But also in the sense that he's not a man. He's, how can I put this?
You're not a man. You're like a box turtle.
Thank you, Crotty Robot. Moving on. I was able to explore some things that really felt real to me, even though I'd never been in Bella's position. It didn't feel like sympathy. It was empathy, like I really was there, like I really was her. It's because you are her. We've emphasized this enough. I cannot understand why some people say New Moon is their favorite book. I really can't. I have a lot of trouble with that, because I know what she's talking about. Most people say, oh, it's not their favorite book because, well, Edward left. No. I sometimes wonder if she doesn't realize it's not because Edward left that it's not their favorite book. It's because the majority of the book was just Bella screaming and flailing and whining that she can't have her candy anymore. That's not a very good thing to read. I mean, you saw me. It drove me to the point of insanity in my recaps. I was going crazy, tearing out my hair. And also, you know, the writing in that was horrible, and her manipulation of people was staggering. And as you all know, she was also creepy. She got scary in New Moon. As I've emphasized, I wrote that spite fic to emphasize her creepiness. Kitty. I wrote that. Yeah, New Moon's not the favorite because A, she just whined for 500 pages. B, she was frickin' scary. C, the writing was really bad. I think there were 300 dead herrings that I counted in there, just constantly saying the same thing. Oh, Edward doesn't love me anymore. 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 Broken record. There's a reason why it's bad. You know, I'm not saying it's the worst one she's written, but out of just the collective 4, out of all of them I've read, just the Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn, I'm not counting Midnight Sun or Bree Tanner. Out of those 4, I would have to say New Moon is probably the worst writing style, because it's just really bad. Looking at the counts I've done and rereading them, I know a lot of people always say Breaking Dawn's the worst one writing wise. No, it's not. It's bad, but to me, New Moon's the worst. It really is. But if you want to go by worst book overall, I say Bree Tanner. Alright, we finished that section. Now we're moving on to one that I really like. I'm excited to get to. On criticism. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. Opening line. Opening line. What surprises me is not that there are people who don't get my book, because that seems really obvious and natural. Excuse me? Excuse me? I really only have one response to that opening line, and that's F you. What the? It's only natural that someone as lowbrow and inferior and not nearly as deep would not get your book. F you. That's your excuse? I just don't get it? That is what that's why I hate your book? 'Cause I don't get it. That's why I criticize what I do, 'cause I don't get it. F you. You know what I noticed about this? She's not really talking about criticism. She's not really talking about it at all, except for the opening line, which is, it's only natural. You're too stupid to get it. Still making me mad. But for the most part, she's not talking about criticism. She just hand-waved it with, well, you can't please everyone, and now is talking about all the people who like it. That this is not on criticism. I know you have fans, okay? I really do. I don't need you to tell me how much you have fans. You're wanking again. I really don't understand it. She's talking about how the negative criticism is always louder. And, she is right. It usually is. But here's the thing. The negative criticism is always louder, except you're making it clear the way you're writing is you don't take any of it to heart. As far as I can tell, you just go home, whine about how people are being mean to you, and then keep doing what you're doing. Have you ever considered that maybe there's a reason for a lot of the criticism you're getting? And I'm not just talking about the criticism that Edward's an abusive a-hole or anything like that. No, I mean the criticism that your writing sucks. You don't go back. Your writing is not improved. The characters are one thing because you refuse to change them one iota. That's your business. I'm talking about your writing style. Your writing style is terrible and doesn't improve. You should be taking that criticism to heart, okay? You should. You're an English major. You should know the benefits of criticism to a writing style. No, she just flat out admitted she doesn't kill off characters because it makes her cry. Yes, I won't want to kill anyone because it upsets me. Never mind, that would be good for character growth, it would be good for plot arcs, it would be good for characterization. No, never mind all that. Nope. We don't want to do that, so we're not gonna. And the criticism section's over. Now it's on Breaking Dawn. What are you talking about, Ms. Hale? This is the question. Your books are romance, but there's also this real, wonderful undercurrent of horror that's different from any kind of horror I've read. Where's the horror? There's no horror in these books. They're not scary. They're not horrifying. It's like she's saying the pregnancy and birth stuff were the horror part. That doesn't make it horror. Just because it was this hideous birth scene, that was out of place. That doesn't automatically make it, ooh, look, it's clearly horror because Edward had to chew open her stomach. That was so out of place. This series has been so sterile and white and clean, and then all of a sudden we have Death Baby. That was out of place. That did not fit with the rest of the series. That's why people always laugh at it so much, because it was so ridiculous and out of nowhere. That doesn't make it good. That doesn't make it horror. We live in a time where having a baby is not much more dangerous than giving blood. What planet do you live on? What are you talking about? No, we don't. That was the most ridiculous statement I think I've ever heard. What are you talking about? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm having to pause here. I'm just kind of staring off into space. I am boggling. She just said having a baby is no harder than giving blood. She just said having a baby is no different or dangerous than giving a pint of I'm sorry. I've been rendered dumbstruck. I cannot believe that. I'm cutting out long pauses because I'm just sitting here trying to figure out how to continue after reading that. Meyer's level of ignorance never fails to stun me. It really doesn't. And ignorance about stuff like this. She's had 3 children. But because hers must have been incredibly uncomplicated, it's obviously that way for the whole world. It's obviously that way for all women, or at least the vast majority. Never mind that only 25% of conceptions actually make it to the blastocyst stage, where it's actually implanted in the uterus and starts to grow. Never mind that only 25 of embryos make it there. Never mind the millions of things that can go wrong while you're pregnant. Never mind you spend 9 months incubating this thing, and it can do any manner of horrible things to your body, any manner of horrible things to itself. Your body could spontaneously reject it, a spontaneous abortion, prepartum depression, anything can go wrong in a pregnancy. They're not easy. They're never easy. They're never simple and clean and straight from heaven. Pregnancies are hard even when they're easy. No, we live in an age where it's just as simple as giving blood. Giving blood, which is a 15-minute procedure, and the biggest risk you have is probably passing out if you're, healthy. If you're unhealthy, they don't let you give, so I don't really count them. So yeah, the biggest risk is you passing out. That's on par with having a baby. Have I harped on about this enough? I think I have. I'm gonna move on because I've picked at it, I've ranted about it, I just need to pick up and move on. Deep breaths, Mervyn. Deep breaths. Let's just move on. She insulted me again. I've got it all worked out in my head. My scientific reasoning works for me, but for people who don't buy into it, I can only agree. It's true. Vampires cannot have babies because vampires aren't real. Laughs. And vampires can't have babies with humans because vampires can't actually copulate, and because humans can't actually copulate with vampires because vampires are not real. It's a fantasy. It's your world. It has to work in your world. We're not saying it can't happen because we think vampires are real. We're saying it can't happen because you said it can't happen. People asked you, can vampires have babies with humans? You said no. And then you tried to retcon it. Well, I was only talking about female vampires. You said they couldn't do it. The scientific, and I use that term very generously, reasoning you provided in your canon says they can't do it. We're not... She's used this before, and it makes me mad every time I see it. It's fantasy, so I can do what I want. No, you can't. Everything has rules. You're not writing with any, therefore you fail. That's all I'm going to say on that. Here's Meyer's excuse. And this makes it canon, so anyone who says that it's stupid I agree it's stupid, but now it's canon, so I have to accept it. The excuse as to why Bella had zero trouble when she was turned into a vampire. Bella was braced, she was ready. It wasn't like it was easier for her, and it wasn't like it was easier for her than it was for them. Yes, it was. She just already made up her mind that that's the whole key to everything. She's the only person in the entire history of the Twilight universe who chose beforehand to be a vegetarian vampire. I'm going to try and use this logic. I'm just going to choose not to be hungry on a diet. I mean, that's obviously all there is to it. I just choose not to be hungry. Or, if I decide I'm going to stop drinking Diet Coke. I have a bad Diet Coke addiction. It's the caffeine. I'm going to stop. I'm going to go cold turkey. I'm not going to have caffeinated tea, caffeinated anything. I'm just going to choose not to have bad mood swings and be tired all the time and get really bad headaches. I'm just going to choose not to. Because I can, That's just what you said here. You can't do that, Meyer. You can't just choose not to have trouble as a vampire, or I just choose not to have a burning thirst. You can't do that. That is idiocy. That chunk of silence I just cut out, I was literally flailing my arms. I was sitting here flapping in my seat. PJ's looking at me like I'm crazy. This hurts my brain. Let's just move on. I mean, getting to have this daughter that he never envisioned, that he never could have conceived of. Different word, please. Alright, that's the Breaking Dawn section. And I am actually pretty sure that this interview took place about 2 days before Breaking Dawn was released. I think Breaking Dawn was released on August 31st. I'll have to check Meyer's website. She has the release date up there. I'll probably put up a picture as to when it was, but yeah, whatever. Either way, this was either a couple of days after or a couple of days before Breaking Dawn was actually released, so it's still not all that relevant. You haven't gotten the questions about Breaking Dawn or anything. You didn't get any of the criticism on Breaking Dawn. You got nothing, so you needed it. Alright, that's that section. Literary inspirations. Bring out the sledgehammer symbology.